Thank you so much for tuning in to NewsBreak. Deputy Craig is joining us to answer your questions for law enforcement. We posted this question a couple days ago on Facebook. I've got all those questions as well as the questions that people posted today.
Oh, all right.
However, before we get to the questions, we want to talk about this East Valley School District substitute situation that happened yesterday. This substitute teacher was arrested and taken into custody.
Yes.
What can you tell us about it? Because for those of you who haven't found the information, it is on our website right now. However, when I instantly heard about a substitute teacher, possibly abusing students, I also initially went back to my days as a student, remembering how absolutely awful kids treated substitute teachers.
Yeah, you're definitely right. This was obviously a very unique situation, unique investigation for us. First off, I just want to let folks know that East Valley School District, specifically Trent Elementary and their administration there, they did everything perfect. As far as, obviously, they received some allegations from students. They did their own internal investigation. I don't work in a school setting, but I can't imagine that it's not uncommon that you hear different things, if kids are upset with teachers. So they did the right thing. They conducted their own internal investigation. Once they saw the commonality with what the students were saying and the legitimacy, that's when they contacted us. Before we were able to get there, they released the substitute of his duties and got him out of the school, which was the exact perfect thing to do. So I know some question has come up, why was there a delay? There really wasn't much of a delay from their initial investigation until we responded and arrived on scene. And ultimately, it was a very lengthy investigation. It's still going on as we speak right now. We have detectives and our school resource deputy for the East Valley School District at Trent Elementary available to students, teachers as well, and parents also. So the investigation is ongoing. We still have a lot of students to interview. Could very well go into next week. And the possibility of additional charges being forwarded for this individual the potential is there. It's very likely, more likely than not, that will happen. So it is there. Obviously it's a school setting, so we have hundreds of students. Not that they're all going to be interviewed, but the ones that directly were affected or witnessed anything, they're most definitely going to be interviewed. So it's going to take a little bit of time. But like I said, East Valley School District, hats off to them, because they did the absolute right thing. Once the assistant superintendent found out what was going on, he relieved the substitute of his duties with the district as a substitute teacher. So they did everything perfect. It's an ongoing investigation. And the biggest thing I have 3 daughters in school as well. The schools, that's your safe haven. That's where you send your kids to school and you expect them to be safe. And this was just one of those things you can't predict, something you can't foresee. The reason behind it, I don't know. And like I said, it's still very much an active investigation. But just hats off to the district, because they did everything by the book. They contacted us right when they determined, hey, there's some legitimacy to these accusations. We need to get law enforcement involved. So, but yeah, it's ongoing, and kind of like you said, yeah, substitutes they do. When we're in school, it's no different.
Absolutely, it's never an excuse for a substitute teacher to ever treat children badly. However, I do think it brings up another discussion for parents to talk to their children about what proper behavior is, because. And like I said, it's an ongoing investigation. Who knows if kids even antagonize this teacher to kind of maybe break emotionally or whatever.
It really doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they're in an extremely, professional position. You have, several vulnerable kids, our children, and it's the last thing you would expect to ever happen. And it's something obviously doesn't happen very frequently. That I can't even remember if that's ever happened in my 18 years being around in any school district in our area. So the school district, they took all the proper steps, and we have him in custody for 6 separate charges. And like I said, I fully expect through the investigation there will be additional charges added on to that.
Okay. All right, well, let's get to some of these questions. Let's start with Michelle Esposito. I understand she's a friend of yours. I'm just going to start with hers because I didn't know that you knew who she was.
My gosh, I can't believe you didn't cross that one out.
Sorry, I'm just going to read this because I was about to blow this person up until I understood that this was just a joke. So here we go. Is it okay to walk into someone's house?
No.
that if you know them, borrow their truck keys and go grocery shopping. I really like big red trucks, especially Fords. Just curious, I don't want to go to jail, so yay or nay? I was like, at first I was like, is this person serious? So
yeah.
She's just playing a little joke.
Stay away.
There we go. Okay. Don't do that. It's not allowed.
Oh, too funny.
We'll get serious.
Okay.
Okay, so Kim said, I just drove downtown and saw 2 people begging, one on Division and Main and one on Division and 3rd. Is that legal? I thought it wasn't.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the boundaries are for the panhandler ordinance that I know that Spokane City has in place, just like we do out in Spokane Valley. I'm pretty confident that that's part of the boundaries where they can't. I can tell you in the Valley, when this ordinance first came into effect, our goal wasn't to go arrest these homeless people and put them in jail by any means. And in fact, the 4 or 5 years that we've had that ordinance in place out in Spokane Valley, I think there's only been 1 citation issued. We just try to help, we try to educate those folks because, excuse me, the reason that it went into effect, we had aggressive panhandling, and it's a situation where these folks are coming out into the roadway, which if they're intentionally disrupting the flow of traffic, it's disorderly conduct. It's a crime. But they were, things were becoming more aggressive. They were becoming more territorial. We were seeing more assaults with these folks, at whatever intersection, at whatever off ramp that they were, at. If other people would come, and ask for money or food or whatever at those locations, we were seeing a lot of assault. So those are the main reasons. And like I said, our goal is not to go out and arrest these folks and, make their life miserable. We are out there to make sure that the motoring public's safe. And also, we want to get these folks the help that's out here, because there is a lot of help available to those folks in the Spokane area. So those are the things that we want to do. But like I said, I'm not certain on your question as far as downtown, but I'm fairly confident that that is part of their restricted area.
Okay. Nick said, it happens all the time on the South Hill, but is it legal for pedestrian runners to be in the street blocking traffic, specifically when they are not getting on the sidewalk as 2 vehicles pass?
Yeah, technically, as a runner, a pedestrian walking, it doesn't matter. You're supposed to use the sidewalk when it's available. Just be courteous to the folks out running. There's all kinds of foot traffic on the South Hill, on High Drive. I know there's all kinds of people that get out and enjoy the weather. Probably not going to go out and write those folks tickets. If they're running in the middle of the road, backing up traffic, 6, 7, 8 cars back, we might talk to them and say, let's use a little common sense and be courteous to the motoring public. But like I said, in that area, if you live up in the South Hill, you know that there's a lot of foot traffic, a lot of people that exercise, and a lot of people that like to go out and enjoy the nice weather.
Okay. Lisa says, if a sober driver arrived on scene of a DUI and the owner of the car is not the driver, why do you impound the car?
Yeah, that's actually a new law for us recently within the last year or two, to where we don't have that discretion anymore. By law, we have to impound the car. Okay. So it's not, we're not trying to add salt to the wound by any means, and that's the way it used to be. If we could have a sober driver show up on scene, that the driver or the owner of the vehicle gave permission to take the vehicle, that was okay. But like I said, that's not the case anymore, and we're not trying to be mean or add salt to the wound. It's just what the law is.
Terrell says, what's with this new Coffee with a Cop program?
That's a new city function that they have going on to basically just from what I read the exact same thing you did, which I think is a great idea. To have citizens available to come, chat with Spokane Police Department personnel, find out what's going on in their community, find out what's going on in their neighborhood. I think it's a great idea.
I think it's great too. It kind of breaks down that barrier of inferior and superior, and kind of allows you to have some common ground.
I'm all for it. I thought it was a great idea when I read that.
All right, Natalie just wants to say thank you for your service. Terrell
You're welcome, Natalie.
Also asked a question, another one. He said, why when cops have to shoot someone, we've had this before, why shoot so many times? That just seems like overkill. And then Angie said, good question, Terrell. Like the guy who was coming toward the cop with a knife, I understand why he was shot, but I don't understand why he was shot 5 times. I think she's talking about the incident that happened last year in Coeur d'Alene. It seems to me that 1 shot is enough to take down a guy with a knife.
Yeah, and here's the deal, and we've been over this a few times on the show. We don't shoot to kill, number one. So please don't think that that's not what we're trained to do. We're trained to shoot to stop the threat. And obviously someone coming at us with a knife or any other type of weapon, you know, a lot of people, you know, they think a weapon and they think of a, you know, a gun, a knife, some type of sharp object. There's different types of weapons. Your vehicle is most definitely a weapon. You know, it's a 4,000-pound weapon. And a lot of people seem to forget about that. But we don't shoot to kill, we shoot to stop the threat. And it's not that we're, you know, trying to, you know, shoot this person as many times as possible. We continue to shoot until the threat is stopped. So that's why you'll see, you know, different numbers of shots in different, you know, type of shooting situations. So, and like I said, just to make it black and white for you, we shoot to stop the threat. We do not, you know, we're not trained to shoot to kill.
And I always have said this too, but I think people just need to step back for a second, because people are very quick to point fingers at you guys, and you guys are under a lot of scrutiny, you know, held to definitely a very high standard. However, you are out there protecting our lives every day, and if you've ever been in a situation, if someone's attacking you with a weapon or threatening your life, I mean, I have absolutely no idea how I would handle that, and so props to you guys for protecting us.
But you know what? It's a fun job. Those are obviously worst case scenarios that none of us want to be involved in. That's not why, you know, we get into police work. We get into, you know, serve the community. It's a great job. It's diverse. Every day is different, and those are the fun. That's obviously worst case scenario when we have shootings or lethal force issues.
Natalie again says thank you for your service. Oh, I guess I already read Natalie's comment, so there you go.
Thanks again, Natalie.
Heather says, I would like some clarification on the marijuana laws about the use of it, private and public, etc. It seems to me as though people have gotten out of hand with what is actually legal and what is not.
Yeah, there's more unanswered questions for us, just like you, than there are that I could give you definitive answers. But the one thing I can tell you between the private and public use is that one's pretty, it's black and white. If you're on your front step and you're visible to the public, you're technically on private property, right? You're at your house. However, if you're visible from public view, yes, that's a situation where you can, you know, we can take action against it. So it has to be in the confines, you know, of your house or whatever it might be, to where it's not visible from the public.
Jacob says, how does one join the force? What kind of high school, or what can a kid do in high school to prepare to join to be a police officer?
Definitely take typing, because that's what you're going to be doing. Probably at least 80% of your career is typing, and you're going to be on the computer, you're going to be writing reports, and you know, kind of giggle about that, but quite honestly, if you're able to type you know, efficiently and fairly quick, you know, you don't have to be, you know, 90 words a minute or anything like that, but it's probably the biggest part of it is the biggest part of our job is, you know, writing reports, justifying, explaining, you know, talking about different incidents, you know, explaining what happened, going in chronological order. You know, this is what happened when I got the call, this is what happened when I got there, this is what happened midway through, this is how it ended, and this is what I did.
I can vouch for that because you're the public information officer for the sheriff's department, so I have an inbox full of emails from you, all the press releases that come from Deputy Craig when there is something going on, and you have to let us know what's going on.
Yeah, so it's a very vital role, and it just depends on the agency that you're interested in as far as the minimum requirements. Some agencies across the country require like a 2-year degree, an AA degree. Some agencies just require a high school diploma. So really depends on where you want to work. Obviously, stay out of trouble, don't use drugs, all the common sense things. You know, and as far as, you know, if you do go to college, it doesn't hurt by any means to take criminal justice classes. I mean, I have a degree in economics, which has absolutely nothing to do with law enforcement. So I came in, you know, extremely naive to the job, but which is fine. I mean, that's why you go to the police academy. That's why you go through a training process when you get to your agency. So that's no big deal if you don't have any prior experience as well.
Okay, well, Tom says this, and you don't have to really answer. It's not really a question, but he wants you to run for sheriff.
Oh.
So maybe something to think about.
Tom, I'm 43. I have 3 daughters. I have a long career to go.
Okay. All right. Sarah says, is it legal to drive with emergency flashers on? She's talking about a regular vehicle that is having an emergency situation.
Yeah, and you know, that's a good question, because a lot of people think, well, if I put my hazards on, that gives me the authority to basically break the law, break the rules of the road, not follow you know, the speed limit, not stop at stop signs, stop lights. technically your flashers, your hazard lights, that's where you have a situation where you're broke down on the side of the road, okay? Late at night, if someone, has a fuse that's blown or something like that, when I was working graveyard, it's very common, I'd say, if they didn't have any taillights or close to home, put your flashers on, just because it's very dark, there's not very, the streets, we're way up north, it's not lit very well, just so if someone comes up on you, rather fast, they're going to be able to, see you and see your flashers, but that doesn't give you the authority to do anything. We can't give you escorts. If you have your flashers on, it's an emergency situation, you need to get to the hospital, something like that's going on, we're probably going to call an ambulance for you for a couple reasons. They're going to get there in a very timely fashion. Obviously, AMR is all over our area. They stage in strategic locations all over Spokane County and the city. And number two, you are not in the mindset of being a safe driver in a situation like that where you have something, an emergency situation going on. So the likelihood of a collision or something bad happening obviously has been escalated at that point. So we're going to call you an ambulance and get you the help that you need, and we'll do whatever we can to assist you as well.
And of course, once AMR is there, medical treatment starts immediately.
Yep.
I think sometimes people think, well, then I have to come here and then go back to the hospital. Well, the medical treatment will start right when they get to your door. So it's better because they will get there safely and get your loved one to the hospital safely. All right, let's see. Stacy says, what are the specific targeted areas with the suspect that was throwing poisoned hamburger to dogs and animals in the valley? Also, what behaviors should you look for if your dog has been poisoned? Because she's wondering if she needs to look out for this. And have you caught the person yet?
I don't know if we've caught him. That's something that Scraps has been dealing with, and I'm not sure what the situation is as far as that investigation, and as far as if there's any specific targeted areas, not that I've heard, and I think that would be something that they would obviously pass our way. Hey, keep an eye out for the specific area, because we've had multiple animals come up with whatever specific sickness it is. And as far as your animals, boy, your animals better than anyone else. If they're acting lethargic or, just not as active as they usually are. I'm just guessing. Those are probably signs, but by no means am I a veterinarian, so take that with a grain of salt.
Maybe ask your vet, yeah. All right. John says, can I legally make a left turn at a red light from a two-way road onto a one-way road? We get this question every time.
Yes, and John, yes you can. You still can. You've been able to the whole time. The last 175,000 times I've asked this, but you know what? It does come up a lot because people just
don't know.
They either don't know or it's very uncomfortable for them. My middle daughter, she has her permit now, and we're out in the valley driving and came up to an intersection just like that, and I'm like, honey, you can make the left turn here on, just make sure and turn into the far left lane. It's cool, it's a red light. And she's like, I didn't know I could do that. It's like, just because you can doesn't mean you have to. So if you're not comfortable with it, you can wait for the green light.
Right. All right, Deborah says, why is it okay to have a car full of kids and some of them not be in seatbelts?
It's not okay, Deborah. That's the best answer I have for you. You have to, if you have too many kids and you don't have enough seatbelts, you can't double kids up in one seatbelt. Yeah, that, unfortunately, we do see that quite a bit.
What about kids in the back seats of pickups?
Yeah, believe it or not, the cab.
In the back ends of pickups.
Yeah, in the cab or in the
bed.
In the bed, thank you.
Yeah.
You just have to occupy the seats in the cab with everybody under 16 years old. 16 and over, yes, can be in the back, in the bed of the pickup. They have to be sitting down. Once again, use common sense. If you're going to go to Silverwood, probably not a good idea to have your kiddos in the bed of the pickup for a long journey.
Right.
So.
Okay, and Courtney says, why do cops feel that you don't have to follow laws?
Yeah.
There's always one of these ones,
Courtney.
too.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Nicole. That's a great question.
There's always one of those questions.
And that's
People are very cynical to you guys.
I know. Well, that's normal. I get it. I know I'm gonna hear about it every time I come in here.
We're used to it.
Yes, we can violate rules of the road. Can we go out and do it just because? No. If we get in a collision and we violated a rule of the road, we were looking down at our computer or whatever it might be, we're not immune from that, okay? Yes, we will get a ticket for that collision, and we will get disciplined within the agency, possibly a day off as well. So we're not exempt when it comes to that. If we, get in and usually that's what it is. If we get in a collision, we're just as liable as anyone else out on the road. But yes, we can exceed the posted speed limit. If we're going somewhere, yes, we're exempt from the cell phone laws. And I know the perception when people see law enforcement, when they see police officers on the cell phone, trust me, if I'm in an intersection, and I'm not going to lie to you, have I used my phone while I'm driving? I have, absolutely. And if I'm in a busy intersection, I'm on the phone. I try to make it business related. Is every call that you make, Craig, or that you pick up business related? Absolutely not. I'm, just like anyone else. But I try not to because it is so extremely dangerous, especially texting. We've all driven by somebody that is all over the road, and you're wondering, wow, is this a drunk driver? What's going on? You get up next to them, it's nighttime, and you see the white glow, and people try to keep their heads up so it doesn't look like they're texting, and you can see their eyeballs down. And
right.
Extremely dangerous. But yeah, trust me, as a law enforcement officer at a busy intersection, if you're on your phone, you can feel 3,000 eyeballs piercing through the metal of your vehicle, not very happy with you. So we do know how the perception is.
Bill says he wants to get in contact with you because he has some issues with some new high kids, and maybe you can help him resolve that. So if anybody else is like Bill and they want to contact you about something specific, how do they reach you?
It's very easy. I mean, just go outside and yell. No, I'm just kidding. You can contact me at my office phone, 477-6612, or through the Sheriff's Office website. There's a link that you can contact me there. Really, extremely, call Q6, call the station. They'll probably give you my cell phone number. But those are, realistically, those are the two easiest ways.
Ginger and Cindy would both like to let you know that they think you rock and they enjoy watching your segments, answering questions. So
smart people, Ginger and Cindy.
Sean says, here's a quick few notes. I read in the paper how folks driving with suspended license get jail, while those driving intoxicated get fines and probation. Which is more serious? And why, here's a separate question, why did the guy that killed Miss McGill only get 10 years?
The McGill case, that is out of law enforcement's hand. That deals with his criminal history, that deals with whatever agreements were reached between the prosecutors, the defense attorney. Yeah, so that's completely, I have no idea. I can't answer that one for you. What was the other part of the question?
As far as the driving, though, suspended versus intoxicated.
Yeah, and you do a lot of times.
Which is more serious?
Well, they're both serious. Personally, impaired driving, much more serious. Suspended driving, that can be from unpaid tickets, that can be from unpaid child support.
It could be from a DUI.
From a DUI,
yeah.
Absolutely. Obviously, impaired driving, you're impaired on the road, you're putting everybody in jeopardy when you're out there driving around. So in my mind, that's more serious. As far as the courts, why you tend to see with suspended drivers maybe getting a little bit more time, I don't know why. That's most definitely a question for the courts and not us on the law enforcement side.
Marilyn's got a question I'm sure lots of people wish there was an answer to. How do you get out of a ticket? She's never had a break, she says.
Quit speeding. I don't know.
Don't get the ticket in the first place.
Yeah. Come up with a very creative excuse.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I've heard a lot of interesting ones.
You could probably write a book about all the excuses you've heard.
I could, and most of them I could not talk about on your very public website.
Okay. All right. Carrie says, can you make it a law that your neighbor's dogs can't bark for hours and hours and hours and hours?
Yeah, I know. I do know how that is, and we hear, about that all. It's a very common complaint, and that's something you'd have to go through scraps with. We're not going to come and take the dog and impound the dog by any means. So hopefully you can come to a civil resolution between you and your neighbors. Hopefully you guys are on good terms. So good luck with that one. All
right, and then I'm trying to see if we had one more here. Carmen is asking about, it sounds like there's a specific officer at her school. She says been called out to several incidents at the school, and she doesn't really feel a lot of respect from this officer. She feels like he doesn't really ask the right questions. He's very one-sided with his investigation. She didn't give a lot of specifics, but she just said, I've been given the runaround for a month now when I tried to problem solve with the officer. She doesn't know what to do.
Boy. I wish I had a great answer. I have no idea what agency, I have no idea what school, I have no idea what the circumstances, revolve around. I'm hoping that this officer, deputy, whatever it might be, is working with you, my initial response is they're probably working. I don't know what the situation is, so it's really hard for me to comment when I don't have any information. Then one thing I can say, as everyone knows, there's always two sides to a story. I'm not trying to defend anyone. I mean, there's always a side to your story as well as the officer or deputy, so it's real hard for me to comment without more information on that.
All right, and then that's really it for the questions today. I do have to say though, ladies, you had a lot of requests for your hand in marriage.
Oh, interesting.
Time, so,
yeah.
okay.
My hands are full. I have 3 daughters. Too funny.
It just cracks me up. We're always going to get that. We're always going to get the question about turning onto a one-way from a two-way.
Cops on cell phones.
And we're also going to get the cell phone question.
Why
breaking the
do
law.
cops turn their lights on real quick and then turn them off when they get through an intersection? Maybe we'll save that one for next week.
Well, Deputy Craig, thank you so much for coming down
You're
once
welcome.
again.
Absolutely.
And he'll be back. Maybe next week, maybe the week after, but we love having you come on, and I know everyone appreciates it. So thanks for your questions. We appreciate them, and tune in next time.